Good morning, dear Sangha. Today is the 22nd of December 2013, and we are in the Assembly of Stars Meditation Hall of the Dharma Nectar Temple, Lower Hamlet of Plum Village. This morning in the Upper Hamlet, we practice touching the earth after sitting meditation. And we made promise to the Buddha that we shall enjoy the practice of walking meditation in our daily life. Because many of us are in a hurry, and most of us do not enjoy the steps that we make. Every time we focus our attention on our breath and the step we make, we can produce a feeling of joy, a feeling of peace. And we can get in touch with the wonders of life. Our body is a wonder. It is like that flower. It is a wonder of life. And there are so many wonders of life around us and inside of us that we cannot be in touch with because we are always in a hurry. We are looking for something, maybe some happiness. So we walk like sleepwalkers. We do not enjoy walking. We do not enjoy our steps. When we come to Plum Village, we practice walking meditation with the Sangha. And if someone asks, what is the use of walking meditation? You do it for what purpose? Why do you practice walking meditation? And you may offer several kinds of answers. But for me, the best answer is because I like it. Because I like walking meditation. I enjoy every step. Every step makes me happy. There is no use of doing walking meditation if you do not enjoy every step you make. It's a waste of time. The same thing is true with sitting meditation. What is the use of sitting hours and hours? And the best answer is because I like sitting. Because sitting can bring peace and joy. And if you cannot produce joy and peace in sitting meditation, well, sitting meditation is of no use. It doesn't help you, even if you sit 10 hours a day. So you have to learn how to sit, that you can produce peace and joy during this time of sitting. You have to learn how to walk so that you can enjoy every step. And that concern with the quality of walking and sitting. And we know that mindfulness and concentration can bring a lot of qualities into our steps, our breath, our sitting. This morning I was doing mindful movement with you. And if someone say, "Thầy, what is the use of doing this kind of movements?" The answer might be the same, because I like it. I do that not because I want to have better health. And I would like to tell you how I do it. Many of the monks of my generation, they have died. They have passed away. And some of them are in wheelchairs. They cannot do it anymore. So I am doing that for them. And I feel that when I breathe in and do like this, I see it's wonderful that you are still able to do this. And because of that awareness, that I enjoy every movement. So doing that is not exactly for the sake of having better health, but because you are still able to do it. You enjoy doing this, you enjoy doing that. You are alive. You are still alive. So that is mindfulness. Mindfulness tells us that we are alive, and our body is strong enough, alive enough for us to do the movements, to walk. Because walking on the planet Earth is a very wonderful thing to do. There are many scientists who spend 6 months or more in a sky lab up there. And when they come back to the earth, they're so happy. They are happy because they know that up there people cannot do that. So they do it for them. Going back to their home, the earth, and making steps, and recognize the grass, the bushes, the plants, the flowers, the squirrel, the birds. It's a wonderful thing. How long they can enjoy walking on earth after having returned from the Skylab? I guess that the first 10 days are wonderful, but they will be used to that kind of happiness. And maybe a year after, they don't feel as happy as they did on the first few months of going home to Mother Earth. But we have mindfulness. Mindfulness reminds us that to be alive and to be walking on earth is a wonderful thing. So if these scientists who have spent a lot of time on the sky lab, if they want to continue to be happy, they need mindfulness. Every time they think of their life on the sky lab, they feel happy right away. And it's not so difficult. The same thing is for us. To enjoy walking meditation is not difficult at all. You don't do it because everyone is doing that, so you should go also. No. You do it because you like it. And every one of us is capable to be mindful of his or her in-breath. Mindfulness of breathing. Every one of us can do it. You breathe in and you are aware that you are breathing in. It's not difficult. It can be very pleasant. When you breathe in with mindfulness, you are aware that you have a body, that you are breathing in, nourishing your body. And you are also aware that you are alive. So mindfulness is enlightenment itself. Buddhism speaks of enlightenment, but you don't need 10 years in order to get enlightenment. You need a few seconds to get enlightenment. Enlightenment is always enlightenment on what? You are aware that you are alive. That is already enlightenment. You are aware that you have a body. That is already enlightenment. You are aware that your feet are strong enough for you to enjoy walking. That is also enlightenment. Enlightenment can come in series. And enlightenment can make you free. It can help you to produce the energy of joy, happiness, and peace. Buddhism is not exactly a religion, but a way of life, an art of living. Because mindfulness is at the heart of the practice of Buddhism. And you don't need to be a Buddhist in order to practice mindfulness. When you brush your teeth, you can choose to do it in mindfulness. You are not thinking of other things. You just focus your attention on brushing your teeth. You have maybe 2 minutes or 3 in order to brush your teeth. And if you are a good practitioner, you can produce the energy of joy and happiness while brushing your teeth. There is mindfulness, concentration. You are mindful of your teeth, of your brushing. You are mindful and you are concentrated on that. You do not think of other things. You just focus on the fact that you are brushing your teeth. And brushing your teeth like that can bring happiness. And when you go to the toilet, defecating or urinating, that is also possible to enjoy the time. Mindfulness can change everything and can help you to be there, to enjoy whatever you are doing. We have, many of us have spent our life, our time, searching for material comforts and affective comforts. And many of us do have a lot of comforts, but we are not happy. We have enough. We may have enough money. We may have enough material comforts, and we may have someone who loves us, who understands us, and yet we are not happy because we don't have mindfulness. And those of us who do not have a lot of money, but because we practice mindfulness, that is why we cherish and treasure our time. We know time is very precious. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is to breathe and to be aware that you have 24 brand new hours to live. That is the gift of life. After I was ordained as a novice monk, I had to memorize many short verses to practice mindfulness. And the first verse is, waking up this morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. And I vow to live them deeply and learn to look at people around me with the eyes of compassion. There are 4 lines. And the first line is for your in-breath. The second line is for your out-breath. And the third line is for your in-breath again. And the fourth line is for your out-breath. And when you breathe, you use the verse in order to focus your attention on the meaning. You want to live the 24 hours that are given to you in such a way that peace, joy, happiness can be possible. You are not going to waste your 24 hours because the 24 hours are a gift of life. And you got every morning that kind of gift. So that is mindfulness. And there are more than 50 verses like that a novice has to memorize in order to practice throughout the day. When he brushes his teeth, there is one verse. When he urinates, there is one to practice. When he put on his robe, there is a verse for him to do so. So the practice of mindfulness is to be aware of everything you do in your daily life, so that you can do it mindfully. And if mindfulness and concentration are there, and then insight will be there, and you can enjoy every moment of your daily life. And that is the practice of mindfulness, to live more deeply every moment that is given you to live, so that you will not waste your time and waste your life. So the new year, the old year is going to end in 8 days. Time goes by very quickly. And the ending of the year may remind us. To think about may help us to think about the way we live our life. 2013. How we have spent that year. Did we enjoy 2013? How did we spend our time? Maybe we have wasted many days in anger and fear, jealousy. We have not made the best of the time given us to live. And then we may ask ourselves what we have done with our life. We have spent many years already, maybe 30, 40, 50 years already. What have we done with our life? So that is a question. Is it possible to live in such a way that we will have more peace, more joy, more happiness, and that help us to help other people to suffer less? And the answer is yes, if you take up mindfulness and practice, and then you enjoy more the time given to you to live. And with more joy and peace and happiness, you can certainly help other people to suffer less, to have more joy. This year we had the opportunity to go to Google headquarters to offer the practice for Google employees. This is the second time. We spent a whole day practicing with the people in Google. They are young people, intelligent people, very creative. And many of us, monks and nuns, came to the Google complex, and we spent the whole day doing sitting meditation, walking meditation, eating in mindfulness, Dharma discussion, and so on, exactly like a day of mindfulness in Plum Village. And we noticed that the people there, they practice wholeheartedly. They did walking meditation with all their heart. They did sitting meditation. They did eating meditation wholeheartedly. Because they are suffering. They have been working very hard. And we know that a company like that always want to succeed, to be number one. And they have invested a lot of their energy into the company. But they are suffering. They do not have the time to take care of their body, their feelings, their emotions, their families. And that is why they feel that they need a spiritual practice in order to suffer less. And that is why they have practiced wholeheartedly when we can. After the Dhamma talk, with questions and answers, I led a walking meditation. All of them joined. And after 15 minutes of walking, we sit down. Quietly, not saying anything. So I was holding a cup of tea and enjoy my tea, while all the other people were sitting and breathing. At that time, there were other employees coming late, and they saw something happen. A lot of people sitting down and doing nothing, just breathing. And it's so quiet. There's something entirely new in Google. Time is no longer money. Time is peace. Time is life. And in the afternoon, we spend 2 hours speaking with those who are responsible for the direction to take in the future. And we discuss about what we can do in order to feel better, to suffer less, and to help people suffer less. We know that in our modern time, we work very hard. Everyone working very hard. And we do not have the time to take care of our body, our feelings, our emotions. We do not have enough peace and happiness in us. And we do not know how, even if we have the time, we don't know how to handle our body, our feelings, our emotions. There is suffering inside. There is a conflict inside. And there may be some loneliness inside. And you don't know how to sort out, to take care. And most of us do not want to go home to ourselves, because we feel that if we go home to ourselves, we will encounter the blocks of pain and suffering and loneliness inside. And we risk to be overwhelmed by the suffering inside. So the tendency is to run away from ourselves. And that is a characteristic of our civilization. People feel the need to run away from themselves because they don't want to be with themselves. Because they have the fear that if they go back to themselves, they'll be overwhelmed by the suffering, by the despair, by the anger, by the loneliness inside. We are running from ourselves, away from ourselves. So we do not have the time and the occasion to take care of ourselves. And if we do not, we cannot take care of ourselves, how can we take care of the person, of the people we love? If you are not able to take care of yourself, how can you take care of the person you love, your family? So not only we are running away from ourselves, but we are also running away from our families and friends. We let them down. And at the same time, we do not have the time to go back to nature, to Mother Earth. Mother Earth has the capacity of nourishing and healing, but we are running away from her, and we may cause damage to nature with our technology. So with new technologies, we create the kind of electronic devices, electronic gadgets that help us to run away from ourselves, from our family. We spend a lot of time with our computers, with other kind of electronic devices. So technology is helping us to run away from ourselves, from our family, and from nature. And that is what's happening in our modern society. We get alienated from self, from family, and from nature. Many corporations have the complex of guilt because they are exploring resources of the earth. They are not. They do not have the occasion to take care of the environment. So most of corporation spend some money for charity work in order to ease a little bit that kind of complex of guilt. It's like in Asia, we go to the temple, we offer the Buddha something, we offer some money for charity work in order not to feel too bad. But to spend some of the money you earn in order to do charity work is not enough. Because you continue to suffer, and the people, the employees in your corporation continue to suffer. If you do not have the time to take care of yourself, of your family, and employees in your corporation also do not have the time to take care of themselves and their families, because you want your workforce to be strong in order to achieve what you want to achieve. You want to be number one in your area, your domain. So our mental health is decreasing. in every corporation. And stress and symptoms of suffering, mental illness are increasing. And that is what many corporations feel. And they are eager to learn of ways in order to deal with that problem of stress and worries and so on. Our Sangha has spent time with directors of corporation. In California. And we had the time to sit down and think deeply to see whether we should sacrifice our happiness, our well-being for the sake of the success of our corporation. You want to be number one, and you want to be happy at the same time. But if you want to be number one, you have to devote all your time in your work, sacrificing families and self. Because you want to be number one. To be number one, you have to sacrifice happiness. But what is the use to be number one without happiness? So we have to ask ourselves the question, what do we really want? Do we want happiness, or do we want success, to be number one? Of course, everyone say, I want happiness, but I also want to be number one. That is the dilemma. There are people who are victims of their success. Even if they have success, they can be victims of their success. But no one is victim of his or her happiness. And it is possible that when you pursue the path of happiness, you can also succeed in your corporation, because if you are happier, more peaceful, your work may be better. But you have to decide that this is number one. And if you have the other success, this is the first success. And the first success may bring the second kind of success. So in the thinking of corporate thinking, the bottom line is still, how can I be number one in my area? So many people want to practice mindfulness, and to practice mindfulness in order to become number one, not to become happy. So there is a question that people worry about the fact that people are using mindfulness in order to do the things that are not good. Many have has put that question. Can you use the practice of mindfulness in order to make money? And in a retreat for psychotherapists offered by Harvard University School of Medicine, someone asked the question that there are people who teach mindfulness but do not practice mindfulness. Because so many want to learn mindfulness. So you learn mindfulness with your intellect. You know a lot of things about mindfulness. So you are teaching mindfulness for the people who want to learn mindfulness. But you yourself, you do not practice mindfulness. So mindfulness risks to become something that is not mindfulness at all. Because mindfulness is a practice and not a theory. So my answer is, don't worry, because if you practice true mindfulness, that will never cause any harm. Because the practice of true mindfulness samasati, samasmriti. This is true. This is mindfulness. If it is true mindfulness, and you don't have to worry, because true mindfulness always brings peace and joy and happiness and compassion. So if mindfulness, if the practice that does not bring about peace and joy and compassion, it is not mindfulness. So the problem is that the practice, the mindfulness that you offer should be true mindfulness, real mindfulness. And the time when you begin to apply the practice of mindfulness, peace, joy, compassion can be born right away. And it's funny to hear that there are those who teach mindfulness but who do not practice mindfulness. How can they teach? You can only give a number of ideas about mindfulness, and that does not help you, that does not help people. Five monks and nuns spent 2 hours talking to young engineers of Google, and you proposed them to think about a kind of website to help people come and learn and practice mindfulness in order to release the tension in the body, release the tension in the feelings and emotions, learn how to take care of the painful feeling, painful emotions, learn how to walk so that every step can bring relaxation and peace and joy, and how to speak, how to listen in order to restore communication. So creating a website like that for people to come and learn the practice of mindfulness is something they can do. And that can profit their own employees first. And other people can come to the website in order to learn to do the same thing. And then they can invent new kind of gadgets that can help us instead of running away from ourselves, going home to ourselves. Suppose a new telephone with the practice of mindfulness in it. Suppose someone called you and the telephone answers right away. Dear friend, I'm still breathing in and out with the sound of the telephone. I enjoy breathing in, release the tension, become aware of my body and release tension in my body. Breathing in, I feel I'm alive. Breathing out, I smile to life. Please practice with me and I answer you after. That kind of things. And then when you walk not mindfully, there may be some sensors that can recognize that and say, and invite the sound of the bell, say, dear friend, enjoy walking, enjoy every step. Don't run like that. In the afternoon at 3:30, maybe your telephone will remind you, have you practiced, have you phone home and practice the second mantra, darling, I know you are there and I am so happy. So these things are possible, and we have discussed with them about this. We have planted the seeds of these kind of things in the mind of the people in Google. They are thinking about that. And one day you may see a telephone like that. Electronic gadgets that can help us go home to ourselves and take care of ourselves and our family and nature instead of pulling us away from ourselves and so on. You don't have to throw away technology. You can make good use of technology in order to help people to go home and take care. Because with mindfulness, we can go home to ourselves without fear. Without the fear of being overwhelmed by the blocks of anger or suffering or loneliness inside. Many of our monastic brothers and sisters also went to visit Facebook and had a very fruitful discussion with them as how we can work together in order to create new opportunities to help people to suffer less and to go home and take care of themselves. So from now to the end of the year, we may spend our time doing walking meditation, sitting meditation, and meditate on this. Suppose you make a determination, a promise, that beginning with the year 2014, you will practice walking meditation always from your from the parking lot to the office where you work. Instead of trying to walk quickly in order to arrive, you arrange so that you can walk like in plum village and enjoy every step. Every step can help you release the tension in your body. Every step can help you to touch the wonders of life that are in you and around you. And that is always possible. I remember earlier this year we spent, we had a retreat in Hong Kong for about 1,300 people. The YMCA camp could not accept more practitioners, so he only had 1,300 retreatants. And I proposed to, on the last day of the retreat, I proposed to the people in the retreat that from their home to the railway station for the bus station, they will practice walking meditation. In Hong Kong, people do not go to work with. Most of people do not use their car to go working. Most people use public transportation. They use the train or the bus. So to make it concrete, the practice, I suggest that every morning, walking from the home to the bus station, to the train station, they arrange so that they can do walking meditation every day. And this is what I said, dear friends, when I was a young monk, I did not want to have disciples. I thought that it's good enough to teach the disciples of other teachers. So I kept that idea for a long time. And even when I come to Europe and America and give the teaching, I still kept that idea. People were very joyful and happy during the retreat. And after the retreat, they can continue to be joyful and happy for a few months. And then they abandoned their practice a few months after the retreat. And I noticed that that's partly because there is no long-lasting teacher-student relationship. And only after some time that I recognized that. That is why I begin to accept disciples, monastic and lay people. I begin to transmit the 5 mindfulness trainings, the 14 mindfulness trainings for lay practitioners, and I also ordain monks and nuns. And that way there is a connection between teacher and disciples. And that helps to maintain the practice for a long time. I also told the people in Hong Kong in that retreat that during the last 2 decades, I did not use telephone. I have not used a telephone. In fact, I do not have a telephone. But I do not feel disconnected with my friends and students. Not because you have a telephone that you can get connected, no. I do not have a telephone, but I don't feel disconnected with my students and friends. So I told the people in Hong Kong that if you want to be connected with me, your teacher, and then what you can do is that in the morning after breakfast, from your home to the bus station, you do walking meditation, because I always do that. And while doing walking meditation, you know that your teacher is doing the same thing in front. So just walking like that, you get the connection with Thầy, and you get the energy of Thầy also at the same time. You are not alone. You are walking with your teacher and the Sangha. And how many people want to do that? And everyone raise their hand. And that is something concrete. You make a commitment. And you walk in such a way that every step can bring you joy, peace, happiness. And you feel connected with the Sangha. At home, if you walk like that, you feel connected with monks and nuns and lay practitioners in Plum Village. And you can get the energy of the Sangha in your daily life. As I have said in the beginning of this talk, mindfulness practice is not difficult. You can practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful sitting, mindful toothbrushing. And you can get the joy, the peace, the happiness. Of course, when you are surrounded by other people who practice, you are reminded to practice. That is why we need a Sangha. For those of us who are not close to a Sangha, we may begin to get in touch with the online Sangha. Many have come to Plum Village after having read Thay's books and visited the website of Plum Village and learned the practice from that. And it is possible to change our life with the practice of walking, breathing. And we can improve the quality of our daily life just by the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking, and so on. And if we do it well enough, mindful breathing, mindful walking, and then we'll be able to handle easily the painful feelings, the painful emotions in us. Because the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking can create feelings of joy and peace and happiness. But can also help us to handle the painful feelings and the painful emotions in us. And then we can go further. We can go further. We know that with mindfulness, we can listen to the other person with compassion. Because we have been able to listen to ourselves with compassion, we can listen to the other person with compassion also. And that helps us to suffer less and help the other person to suffer less. And we can use the kind of speaking language that can restore communication called loving speech. And that is the practice of the fourth mindfulness training. Compassionate listening and loving speech. When you have mastered the practice of mindful breathing and walking, you will be able to listen with compassion and to use loving speech. And you can restore communication with the other person easily with that practice. In the year 2006, I was invited by UNESCO to speak during the time of Vesak celebration in Paris. And I made a proposal that UNESCO organize, set up an institution to train school teachers from many countries on this practice of mindfulness. And teachers coming from many countries can learn the way to take care of the body, release tension in the body, practice mindful breathing, producing feelings of joy and peace and happiness, taking care of painful feeling and painful emotions, learning how to use loving speech and deep listening, because they are going to bring that kind of practice into their class, their school. And help the young people to deal with the energy of violence within themselves. In the year 2006, we learned that in France, in schools in France, from the lower level to the upper level, there's a lot of violence. And they recorded 88,000 incidents of violence in 1 year in France. Violence between students and teachers. 88,000 violent events. It may be worse now, 7 years after. And we, from Plum Village, we can volunteer to come and train these teachers coming from other countries. And we will be able to give, to instruct them in a kind of language that is not Buddhist. We can use ordinary language. The director of UNESCO at that time was Mr. Frederick Mayer from Spain. He liked the idea very much. And he recommended that we in Bangladesh produce materials on that kind of practice and teaching. So I went home to Bangladesh and asked our Dharma teachers to sit down. And together we have produced 2 sets of documents that can be used for that purpose. And one set was later published as a book with the title Anger. Anger. Anger was published in America 1 week before the September 11th event. And the other set was published under the title Creating True Peace. Creating True Peace. And the editors asked us to bring in a number of stories in order to illustrate the teaching, so that readers can enjoy more the teaching. In the last 4 or 5 years, Dharma teachers in Bangladesh have been training school teachers in many countries, including Bhutan, Thailand, India, America, England. We have offered many retreats for school teachers, and we offer this kind of practice of mindfulness. Mr. Frederick Mayer resigned shortly after that, so he could not continue with UNESCO. So the other day I sat with Brother Pháp Dung and other monastics and suggest that we reconnect with UNESCO again to continue with this project. Maybe UNESCO can establish a center in Paris for this purpose. But while waiting for that, we can train them in Bangladesh. Because we have been doing that already in many countries. So if you are, dear friends, if you are school teachers, and if you have not heard about this project, this Wake Up School, please inquire about it. And we believe that happy teachers can change the world. By helping the young generation to practice non-violence. The practice is very concrete. How to create feelings of joy and peace in the body and in the mind. How to handle a painful feeling, a painful emotions. How to listen with compassion. How to speak with compassion, to reconnect and to restore communication. These are very important practices. So next year, the year of 2014, can be a year when we can invest more time, more energy into this kind of practice in order to improve our quality of life, the quality of life in our family, in our company, in our school, in our workplace. And if you are a doctor or a nurse, you may like to do something with your colleagues in order to transform the hospital into a place of practice where people can listen with compassion, speak with compassion. People know how to handle painful feeling emotions, and the practice of doctors and nurses will help greatly and the patients who come, because that energy can be very healing. The same is true in the atmosphere, in the setting of a school, of a company, even in the city council and so on. And while I was in India, talking with, giving a talk to members of the parliament, we also suggest that the practice of mindfulness should be taken up in the parliament so that everyone can listen to everyone else with compassion and transform the place into a place where all ideas can be offered. And that way we can make the kind of law that can help establish more peace and harmony in the country. I think we can do walking meditation now because there's some sunshine.